This letter was slipped under the doors of the 170-odd returned travellers from New South Wales currently in Victoria's hotel quarantine program at about 11 p.m. last night. It says the department is currently reviewing the hotel quarantine process for these returned travellers, and there may be an opportunity for some of them to complete their period of mandatory isolation at home. The letter reads, the Department of Health and Human Services has instituted a process to proactively review the circumstances of people returning from New South Wales to assess whether there may be circumstances whereby quarantine would be more appropriate at a private residence. As a person who has recently returned from New South Wales, your case will be reviewed in the coming days. The letter goes on to say that initial contact will be made from today with the first of the travellers into the quarantine program, the first to be contacted, and so they may well be the very first ones out of the program. Meanwhile, thousands of Victorians remain stranded in New South Wales with the border closed. There have been over 2,200 applications for a permit to return home. About 300 of those have been processed and granted permission to return to Victoria to the hotel quarantine program. About half of those were for people, though, who already had existing permits, either for being part of the border bubble or for being essential workers required in Victoria's COVID-19 response. Now, there have been lengthy delays in the Victorians in New South Wales getting in contact with the Department of Health. Some of those have been waiting weeks for an answer to their application, being caught up in the initial red zones from the 21st of December, and we've now got a situation where both federal Liberal and Labor MPs are calling on the Victorian government to speed up the process so that all of those who are eligible to come home to Victoria do so in a timely manner. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has been in contact with Premier Daniel Andrews. He's told Melbourne's 3AW radio station this morning that ultimately it is the Premier's decision to make on borders, although given the situation seems to be abating in both Victoria and New South Wales, he hopes things will return to normal sooner rather than later. Take a look.
What we've seen in relation to both of these outbreaks, when you compare it to what happened earlier in the year, then they're getting on top of this. The systems are working. Of course, we need to remain vigilant. It's still fragile, but I think we're making great progress in both. So that should hopefully mean that we can restore settings to where they were before the outbreak as soon as possible.
Danica, 3 locally acquired cases of coronavirus have been detected in Victoria today, as well as one from an international traveller. That's from just under 33,000 tests. No word yet on whether these 3 locally acquired cases are linked to the Black Rock cluster, as all of the others have been, but we can expect an update from the government later this morning.